Welcome back to another construct video, and in this video we're going to find out if you can use construct 3 to make you a better D&D player. Let's get started. So for context for today's video, I'll be hosting my first D&D campaign at the weekend when this video goes out, and I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'm playing with people who've never played before, and I want to use my computer and a projector to give me a bit of a safety net. So I need to rely a bit less on my own personal storytelling, and I can use images instead. Now I could use this with PowerPoint, but it's a little bit clunky. It means that I have to do the pictures in a certain order, and I want a bit of freedom to change the campaign based on what actions people do. So can we use construct to fix this problem? I think so. So first thing I've done is gone to Rune Foundry. I found these amazing free packs that you can get that have some gorgeous, lovely maps. And then I've imported them into Construct and just edit the sizing slightly so I can then use them inside a standard layout. Now what I want to do is have some sort of selection box where I can pick out of these maps on the fly really easily. So let me work out how I can put that into Construct. And after more playing around than I would have liked, we now have a working drop-down box. So I can now pick between our different scenes. And again, this is going to be really quick and easy for me to select the scene based on what's going on in the game. Now to get this working was a little bit of a pain. So what I've first done is created a JSON file. So this is done by going down to your files, right clicking and adding an array. I've then got a box for each of the animations. So camp day, night, crossroad. And these match up to what the animations are called in the sprite itself. And then event sheet wise, I'm requesting that file when the layout starts. When it's completed, I'm loading this into an array object called data, and then I'm repeating for the width of data, and as long as the value is not empty, I'm going to add it to my list, and then when the value of the list changes, set the location animation to match whatever the list says. And I'm also just going to copy and paste that for the first line of code, and that way they match up to whatever it says at the beginning, which should be our camp. Good, let's move on to our next element. So the next thing I want is I want to have 4 playable characters that I can click and drag and move around the map. This one should be fairly simple, so let's implement it. So I've now created an icon. This one's just a question mark. I will add in an icon for the characters that my players are designing and picking. But all I'm going to do is add a behavior, and I'm just going to add the drag and drop behavior. So now when I play it, during the game, I can actually pick and move these around. Now, there are some changes that I do want to make to this. First of all, some of the maps are different sizes, and there are more that I need to actually put into here once they finish downloading. So I want the ability to actually scale these icons up or down depending on the map. I also want to have a text box underneath so I can actually give it a name. And I also want to be able to change between multiple different icons. So the 4 players are quite easy because I can literally just have 4 different icons always on the map. But let's say that a particular map has a troll or a dragon on it. I want to be able to select that animation and put it on there as well. So a little bit of theory crafting needed. And I'll come back to you when I've worked these problems out. So problem number 1 is fixed. We've got a slider, and this is just a percentage. So it goes from 20% all the way to 400%. So this allows us to change the size of any icons on the map. So if we are in a really large city, the icons can be much smaller. And if we're in, say, a tavern, the icons are going to be bigger to represent the size of the different characters. And it's done using the slider icon. I've set the maximum and minimum value it can be. The default value is 100 for 100%, but I'm actually doing this in the event sheet. So you can see set the value to 100%, and then is the icon size changing? If it is, then a really simple calculation to get the new size. And then icon size, I've just set this as a global variable so I can decide the default size of all icons at the beginning of the game. Right, let's move on to our next problem. So a little bit of extra progress made. What I've done is got a list down the side of different objects, and the plan is I can click on these and this will bring in a new icon for me to use, so there'll be no icons to begin with. And click on player 1, bring the player 1 icon in. Code wise for this, I've just got a side panel which is just a sprite. I've started adding in some animations. So this is the default one. I've got player 1, which is a character that I used AI to generate based off the personality and appearance traits that my friend gave when he did his character sheet. Same for player 2, and then just a generic dragon for number 3. The aim is to have around about 12 to 15 different characters that I can bring in at any time by just clicking on one of those names and dragging them in. And then to generate this list, I've just got the names of the different animations. And then the event sheet, I've just got a new loop that just creates an object starting at 693 and then loop index times 25, which is just the size of the text box. And this just means we've got a text box for each of the different characters that I want to choose between, which means I can do a check for if I click on any of them and then create an icon for that and bring it into the world. And with one small change to the code, this line to be particular, I'm now checking if I'm clicking on that text box, create an object in the middle of the screen, and set the animation to the text. If there isn't an animation available for it, it will stick to the default, which is the question mark. And in practice, this is what it looks like. So I can click, bring the object in. I do need to obviously do some checks on the sizing to make sure the sizing is right because it's a bit too big. But I can bring them in and place them in the world. So I also need a way to destroy them. I also still want to add a text box underneath so I can actually give them names. So if I want to spawn a dragon in, I can give it a certain name just to add a bit more personality to the game. So it's been a day since my last sort of segment and I've had a load of extra stuff since then. So first thing is we've added all the extra locations that were part of the free pack. So again, just more variations being able to use, which is really, really great. I've also added more characters in, so we can add in stuff like a dwarf, which appears to be one that's not working, so I'll go fix that. Or we've got an orc female, and we can resize it as well, and we can also change the name of the text. So we can give character names, so Helga, for instance, can be one of my characters, and again, it just adds that extra personality to the game. I've also added in this little X in the corner where you can actually delete characters as well. So once we finish with a character, we can delete it. So this is starting to take shape, but there's still some more features I want to add, so I'll come back to you once I've added in a few more ideas of mine. And after about another 10-15 minutes playing around, we have our next update. We now have a simple audio system. I've only added 3 sounds because I don't want to go too crazy with this, but in certain situations it's quite nice to be able to add in some ambient sounds. So this is a really, really simple system. We can just start it and stop it whenever. Not sure how well the sounds will work on the video, but they are working, trust me. And if we look at the code for this, you can see first of all we've got our JSON file that we created. I've just added in a sound section. I also want to add items in a bit, so I've added an item section ready. I've got my characters and locations. Event sheet wise, exactly the same thing to add the music to the list. I've just created a new list for the music. And then we've got our 2 bits of code down here. So the first one we've got is checking that when we press the sound button and the play text is shown, we wait 0.1 seconds. That's just to stop both of these triggering at the exact same time, because obviously we're going to change this to stop, and then that is now true. And we just play it, and we play it based on the text of the current drop-down box, and change the text to stop, and then for the opposite way, we just stop all music. Simple as that. So another nice feature to add. Right, we've got items, we've got a map to add, and I think we're nearly there. So it's been round about an hour since I last recorded because I've sat in Photoshop for about an hour, but we now have a map. So you can click on the map comes up. It's a really simple map. I didn't want to go too far with it, but yeah, it does its job. It's a map that can come up during the game. And then, like I said, we can combine this with all the other features that we've got so far. So the last thing I really want to add is just some items, and I think I'm ready to host my first D&D campaign. So let's quickly add some items, and I'll come back to you in hopefully not very long. So last feature has now been added. So we now have this item option. So we have a list of items generated the same way using an array. And if we click on one of them and then do give item, it comes up. Again, this is coming from the Rune Foundry pack that I got online. They're free. They're worth checking out if you're interested in D&D. And if you click on it, it disappears. So it's just a really simple way that someone opens a chest, and again, you can grab a chest, bring it in, give it a name if you want, and then when somebody goes up, they go, oh, you've got the spool, give item, and there's the spool on the screen. You can click on it, it disappears. You can also get the chest and remove it. And with just one more edit, we've reached the end of the video. I've just added in really quickly just a bit of CSS to add in a nicer text label. It's a little bit smaller as well, so it can be seen on the screen better. But this is the final version I'm going to share with you. So what I've done is remove player 1, 2, and 3 being the characters that I've generated, because you don't really want them in your own campaign. I've kept the map though, but you can obviously change it out for your own image. And all the other icons are added, so you can add these in to your game. And again, you can adapt and change this program to suit your needs. All the different packs in there, again, these are all from Rune Foundry, so check them out. And wish me luck on my first D&D campaign.